The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Well met, Cluckers. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. He's Willie Dills Gregory, and she's Jocelyn Moffat. And this is The Angry Chicken. Welcome back, guys. How y'all doing today?
What up?
I'm doing all right.
I'm going to be muting off and on for the next little bit because I swear, dude, this guy's coming right for me, dude.
Oh, no.
I feel like he's mowing my car right now. Oh, my God.
Is your car overgrown?
Does it need a good mow?
I like to imagine that Dills' car is actually made out of the same material Chia Pets are, and he kind of let it get out of hand.
I got that sweet overgrown Bastion skin on my car. It's pretty
Nice.
sweet.
Nice. Very nice.
Fancy.
Ganymede needs to be a card put in the Hearthstone, by the way. I'm going to be campaigning that up until November because I would rather spend my time on that than actually paying attention to things on the TV right now.
There is no way that's going to happen, though. That's cross-universe.
Yeah, but you could see, like, where something
we would see
involves...
Pepe in Hearthstone before we would see Ganymede.
Honestly, I'm surprised.
Pepe.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Pepe in Hearthstone already, but I could see,
Pepe should be like a buff card, right? You put it on someone's head and
Yes.
then
Dude!
It'd be even better if it actually went, like, you could physically see it on the game board.
Yeah, then you
Instead
see
of just a buff. Yeah, you just see Pepe, like, sitting sideways on a minion's head. Yeah.
But he still has, like, the little token border, but it's way smaller than all of the little... You know, because when you play the minion, they have the oval border. Pepe should have that, but it should be significantly smaller and kind of placed cockeyed on top of a minion.
It could be super cool, too, if then you could put costumes on your Pepe, and you could have, like, Pirate Pepe that would, like, buff your weapon or something.
Oh, that'd be so... Oh my God!
Yep,
Jocelyn,
solid
you've
like
stumbled...
buffs.
You've stumbled onto something. Cosplaying Pepe, and you can give it whatever costume you need to make Pepe work for whatever tribe you're trying to give buffs to. Or maybe just, you know, whatever tribe you want a cute little bird sitting on top of.
See, I'm not an actual, like, balance genius, but I think I might be a card design genius. I can design the fun.
Yeah. Careful. I'm concerned that one of these days we're gonna show up to Angry Chicken. You will just be gone, and then the next week we'll find out that you're designing Tavern Brawls.
Oh my God. That's true, because Tavern Brawls are definitely meant for the fun, not for the balance.
That could be
All right, quick. Job interview. Design a Tavern Brawl right now. Go.
It's based off of what we just said. I think they could do a BlizzCon themed Tavern Brawl, and it's the BlizzCon costume contest, but everything is Pepe in different costumes.
The Pepe Brawl would be pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Yep.
be into it.
Somebody
I'd be
actually
into it.
posted about this somewhere in our Hearthstone. I can't remember exactly where, but why haven't we had an Ogre Brawl yet? All right, the 50-50 Brawl?
So just normal Hearthstone, but everything has a 50% chance to attack the wrong target?
Yeah, just build your deck, but everything has a 50-50 chance to go where you want it to.
But all your minions would be super strong, because all the ogres are super strong. They're just stupid. They don't know where to attack.
Well, in that case, you would just play the ogres, because usually that's the drawback. You usually get a little more power for your mana.
No drawback, so put them in your deck.
Yeah,
right?
why not? Why not? You'd be incentivized to play ogres. Although I would kind of like to see it with ogres not allowed, but that 50% buff. So you have to do it with weird cards that aren't ogres.
Or it could just be one of those Ixar brawls where he just builds the deck for you and it's got all the ogres in it and some other stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A pre-built one. Yeah.
I know that Jocelyn likes it. She's like, yeah. No, pre-build that. I don't want to think about this one. Go ahead and pre-build that for me, okay? Thanks.
Well,
Hashtag truth.
before we go too deep down this particular rabbit hole, I want to thank our everyone supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC because guys, we're just like a hair away. We're like $125 away from the next goal. We're creeping ever closer to it. So huge thanks to you guys. And if you're out there and you're listening and you like the show and you've thought to yourself, how can I support these guys? Well, that's a good place to go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. Go give it a look-see. And while we're in the spirit of thanking people, we have someone else to thank today, and I have a question. Dills, have you ever thought to yourself, man, I wish I could spend less time agonizing over how to cook a healthy, fresh meal for myself, and instead I could just focus on learning how to beat Midrange Shaman?
I mean, honestly, I wish I could spend less time browsing the spice rack at my local HEB. And I wish someone would just shove spices into my face and say, this is good on pork. And then I'd go, okay. And thankfully, someone is doing that for us.
They are. This episode of The Angry Chicken is sponsored by HelloFresh.com. And they will send meal kits directly to your door. They are fresh. They are ready to cook. They have everything you need in a special insulated box. We've had a chance to actually try them out, and dude, it's delicious. It's so good. Yeah. And I love not having to worry about what to make for dinner.
The Duca crusted pork chops last night, and holy crap, that was amazing. My puppy was all over it as soon as I started cooking it. He wanted some. And tonight, I'm going to make the Icon Burger. I'm going to do that like right after the show, actually. I can't wait.
That's fantastic.
It looks so good.
Yeah. Well, you can head over to HelloFresh.com right now, and you can sign up for the subscription delivery service. If you use the code TAC, if you enter that code, you will get 30% off your first week of... sorry, did I say percent? I meant $35 off your first week of delivery.
Straight
$35. No, you don't have to figure out percentages
the
here.
Good dollars.
The good dollars. The good dollar. You can tell there's a Canadian on this show. Yeah, so you get $35 off your first week of deliveries. You also support the Angry Chicken in the process. So check out HelloFresh.com. You can choose between classic or veggie, depending on your preferences. I am a disgusting carnivore, so I go for that classic box.
Classic all the way, please. If they had one that was an all meat, I would probably check that box.
Yeah.
And they just sent one that's just like a deli platter.
Just meat lovers.
Just delicious meats, yes. The Ron Swanson HelloFresh box, please.
I would go for a HelloFresh. Just a suggestion. I would go for a meat and cheese platter. That'd be good. Sign me up. Would it come with
but it would have like, delectable dips and crazy like spices to sprinkle on top and everything, and be like stuff you never heard of. Like I was making the burger and I was like, oh, interesting. There's like a tiny jar of jam. And I was like, this is amazing. I would never have thought of this on my own. Yeah. HelloFresh. It's HelloFresh. That's all I'm saying.
HelloFresh is HelloFresh? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, HelloFresh
nice.
is HelloFresh.
Well played, Dill. So go check them out. They're sponsoring the show. We thank them for their support. Hey, speaking of patrons and awesome people, Jocelyn, taco this weekend. You killed it. Great job putting that together. Dills, dude, you streamed the whole damn day. You killed it. Good job doing that.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was really, really fun day, though. Dills and I had a great time. There is 8 hours of streamed content available on, or I guess actually 9 hours, right?
Yeah, it was like 9+ hours at the end. Yeah. But there was like a 40-minute break in there somewhere. But right now it's all just, you can watch it as a VOD on A-Move, just the actual broadcast. But I do have all of the footage. So we'll cut up, I guess, like the finals or something like that. And maybe some of the other matches too, but it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it was really, really fun. I think the stream topped out over 150 viewers. I think I wasn't watching the stream numbers that closely.
I wasn't paying that much attention, but I checked a few times. I think for the finals we definitely got over that number. So
yeah.
And there was also, like HCT or something else was going on at the same time. I can't remember exactly what the other tournament was. But
EU finals, I believe.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So there was like an actual money tournament going on at the same time as well, but you guys were still really excited, and a lot of people were over there, and the chat room was live and happening the entire time. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had 67 people sign up. Shaman, Mage, and Warrior were the top 3 most popular classes, with Shaman obviously being banned the most, as actually the same as Taco Spring, so we could probably use a little bit of a shakeup. Blizzard, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And Shaman was also the winningest class at 65% win rate. So Man, oh man.
Shaman's real good, dude.
Shaman's pretty
I don't know
damn
if you guys
good.
have heard this, but Shaman's real good.
I've been avoiding Shaman because I don't like playing what's popular.
Sure.
And then on Sunday, I decided, screw it, I'm going to start playing Midrange Shaman. And I've logged
And then
20.
you're like, oh, this is what winning feels like.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going too well. I felt really bad
Yeah.
in some of those games.
Yep, exactly. So
More on that
all
later.
of the stats for the tournament can be found over on Battlefy. The tournament brackets and all of that, all the stats and everything else stays up past the tournament. So the link is in the show notes. Clynch, who was our runner-up from Taco Spring, actually was able to win the tournament by defeating our longtime patron caller RationalPi in a very intense final that went to all 5 games, which I think is a Taco first.
Yeah, they both played really, really well, too. It was really enjoyable finals, and I don't want to tell everybody like what happened, but I encourage you guys to go check it out. There was some big swings in momentum in some of those games.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting for sure.
I think the closest finals we have had. It was so nice. Huge thanks to the players. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but thank you for playing slower. So we can actually.
They were told. Yeah, every person that I pulled onto stream, I said, okay, remember you're on stream, and so if you could take a couple more seconds, just think through your plays, because just keep in mind that we are casting, so the extra time would be appreciated.
Yeah, I know they were asked. It doesn't mean they had to listen to us. So I was giving them a little.
See, that's the great thing about Taco participants is because we're pulling from our community, they are just above and beyond in terms of participants. They are understanding, they are gracious, they are so nice to each other. They are so nice to me as the admin. So we actually had a completely smooth taco. We had no real big issues. I think I had to do like one rule clarification the whole entire day. We had no disputes, no nothing. It was awesome. So and that really has to do with the volunteers that we had. They were in Discord all day. They were answering questions so I didn't have to, so that I could pay attention to casting and doing the stream. There was only a couple times that I had to do little admin things, but I was able to like keep the stream going because I was watching the bracket, so I had a constant stream of people being pulled into the stream. So it was so smooth. So thank you to everyone who volunteered this weekend. You guys made it amazing.
Good job, guys. So great. But seriously, both of you guys, you did a great job. Thanks for just killing it on the stream. Thanks for killing it with the casting. And thank you for letting me come in after doing no work all day, thinking I was dying from yet another throat infection, and joining in on the finals.
First time to have you for the finals, man.
First time we all got the cast together.
It's funny because now, next taco is like going to be real soon because this one was a little bit late.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. Now we know that we can do a full day of streaming and all that, and it all works. So it's like the first time we've actually kind of given that a try. And for it to go as smoothly as it did was pretty crazy to me because, like, I literally the night before was making the overlays and it's like it was,
which
it
didn't
was, like,
give me a heart attack at all.
No, they were fine though. Everything like worked. It was good.
I need
Good
to
times.
learn to just trust your last minute niche and not be like freaking out. But no, it did. It went really, really smooth. And thank you for helping me all day because that was amazing. And I could not have done that by myself. I just couldn't have. And so, yeah, you mentioned the next taco is going to come up pretty soon. I think we're going to go with November 12th, which is the Saturday after BlizzCon. So that will be our Taco Fall tournament. And then we'll have a few months off because Taco Winter doesn't happen until the new year. So.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, November 12th. Mark your calendars, people.
That's
By the
coming
way,
up.
I will not be available for that one.
Scary soon.
Oh crap! Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you have your golf thing.
I'm MGA World Championship is exactly that weekend.
If we push it one more week to the 19th, will that
I'll
work,
be
or
there.
is that
I'll be
your
there for that
crazy? Is that your crazy Thanksgiving? That's not the right Thanksgiving time.
No. The Thanksgiving is like the 25th
Okay, all right. So the 19th.
or whatever,
then.
23rd, whatever it is. I don't remember what day it is. Yeah, but
Forget what
this
I
year.
said about the 12th. It'll be the 19th.
And Thanksgiving's always a Thursday, Jocelyn.
Well, yeah, but your Thanksgiving weekend is like, yeah, it's anyways.
It's literally a holiday that does not affect the entire country that Jocelyn resides within. Dills, I don't think you can hold it against her.
So yes, November 19th then will be.
There
our
you go.
next
So erase
taco.
November 12th from your calendar.
Yes, and put the 19th in instead.
There you go. Good job.
November 19th is a Saturday.
Yes.
Mark it.
Yeah. Because I will be extremely drunk on a golf course on November the 12th. So
That could be a fun stream, though.
That would be a
maybe
fun
we
stream,
should. Maybe
actually.
we should rethink this.
Look, this guy should probably play Yogg. That always wins. Watch this shot. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, shall we get into this week's Hearthstone news?
Sure.
Let's-
Is there any?
There's not really a ton, but
Okay.
trust me.
Good news, everyone!
All is quiet on the tavern front. There's not been a whole lot going on in the world of Hearthstone. Things are getting closed up for BlizzCon and whatnot. But honestly, like mostly the same decks. Nothing really blowing our minds for the most part. We are going to talk about two deck archetypes that have actually been around for a while, but have changed a little bit with Karazhan in the strategy segment. But as far as big Hearthstone news is concerned, nothing has been really going on, and Team 5, as we've mentioned over the past few weeks, have been extremely quiet. But they haven't been entirely quiet because Mike Dene and Dean, a.k.a. Ixar as we know him here, sat down with Cam Shea over on IGN, and Cam Shea put out part 1 of what is a multi-part interview with these two Team 5 developers. And there was a lot of talk about the current state of Hearthstone, which I don't know if anyone noticed, but that seems to be a hot topic at the moment.
Yeah, everyone seems to be talking about this. Like we were talking before the show that Kibler posted a video, and I actually haven't watched it because the title of the video was "The Current State of Competitive Hearthstone." I was just like, no, not another one. I can't watch it.
Overload.
As much as I'm sure that Kibler has amazing points because he is a very, very smart man and he's been in card games for a really long time, and I'm sure he has a lot of points that are probably have not been expressed by either Reddit or the rest of the pro Hearthstone community. I just couldn't press play on another one, so I haven't watched it yet. But I think it's probably, Dills, you were mentioning it is worth watching. So
It's really good, and his perspective is definitely different from what you've probably been hearing from other people. So it's a good video, and he breaks it. It's pretty long though. He goes through kind of everything, and then he starts to kind of deviate from that exact topic. So it may start that way, but he goes through quite a bit of cool stuff, and he does have a good perspective as someone who actually designs games, and also is in the Hall of Fame for Magic the Gathering. So it's like he understands card games as a whole. So if anybody's interested in another take on it, I highly recommend that video. It's really good. We don't need to talk about all that again, but his version of it is really good.
Yeah.
He's closer to Daniel Negreanu, by the way, than say a lot of other people.
whose opinions on the last episode, by the way, we've gotten a lot of feedback, were very, very well received. Yes. I think he made us look at the game a little bit differently. Yeah, even like us, the hosts, not even just our audience. So
yeah,
he was a dream to have on.
I haven't received this much positive feedback about an episode in a long time. And everyone gets excited whenever we have a guest on, really, usually no matter who the guest is. But something about Daniel really seemed to hit people in like a soft spot. So
yeah. And I think it's nice to hear his opinion. It's nice to hear other opinions, and it has made me a little bit readjust, exactly how I feel. And I still play a ton of Hearthstone. I mean, the WoW is fresh and new and fun, and I'm still streaming mostly Hearthstone, right? Because I still have a great time playing the game. But I still do think, though, that there's like somewhere in between like Batstone and then, what Hearthstone currently is, which is like the right mix, right? So I still like hold firm to that opinion, but it was really cool to hear like someone embrace RNG. And Kibler made a couple really good points that as far as card games are concerned, Hearthstone actually does have a lot of static things in it where there's literally no RNG to that at all. Like the Mulligan phase has a lot less RNG than, say, throwing your whole hand away and then drawing one less card this time, which you do in Magic. And then, of course, the fact that you get exactly 1 mana a turn is a lot less RNG than, say, Magic. So, while we think, oh, God, every card says the word random on it, the truth is there's a lot of static stuff in Hearthstone that is always the same every single time, right? So in that aspect, there isn't as much RNG. So it's his perspective is very, very sound. So I'm coming around a little, but I think we can all agree that there's a medium in there somewhere that's the right spot, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the point we bring up. I think maybe the week before Daniel was on, we spent such a long time talking about how to make it better that it came off as negative, even though the whole reason we're talking about that is because it's a game we already like and we would like it to be better, to be even better than it already is. But something about just the way Daniel delivers sentences comes off as infectiously positive.
Well, when you have like 30 mil in the bank in tournament winnings, I don't know. Probably like
You think you're pretty positive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything's just kind of all right. you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about some of the highlights from at least the first part of this IGN interview with Danae and Ixar. They talked about a lot about the current state of the game, and two of the classes that came up that were discussed heavily were Shaman and Priest. And on the subject of Shaman, we're going to talk about Shaman in our strategy segment. And Dills talked to you earlier. You were talking about how you don't like Shaman. You're kind of over Shaman.
Yeah. It was really nice to see them address it in this interview because I feel it, right? I think anybody who's playing a lot of ladder feels it. You can't play any deck that's weak to Shaman right now because just losing, they say 20% or so of the ladder is Shaman. It feels more like 50% to me. It feels like every other game is a Shaman.
Yeah. No.
And normally if like it was that heavy, you would say, hey, play the counter to it. But what's the counter to Shaman, really?
There's not
Freeze Mage?
It's
like
not,
I don't even that like gets just beat down so fast, I was trying to play some decks that were a little bit more controlly and cleared the board enough times, but you still just, if you don't draw right, they just run you over. So there's no real true like counter, right? Like a lot of times you could say, oh, there's too much Miracle Rogue. Oh, so I play aggro and I just kill them before they get their Auctioneer turn off. Like, but when it's Shaman, it's
it's not as rock paper scissors. There's not necessarily a rock to Shaman scissors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But on the subject of Shaman, Danae said that overall he thought the meta was healthy, but he did say that it's more Shaman heavy than he would like. Ixar said that he thinks a big reason that there are so many Shaman right now is because of how many different types of Shaman decks that there are. And there are quite a few. But then Danae followed up.
I was going to say, I don't actually know if this is, I don't think that this can be an argument because there's more warrior decks than there are shaman decks, and warrior is not more prevalent on ladder. So I don't really know how much of an argument that can actually be. Because they did say there's I think 13% of one specific shaman deck. I can't remember if it was aggro or mid-range, but one specific shaman deck makes up 13% of the meta right now, and all shaman decks is like 20. So that's way too much.
I know that argument's it comes up a little
hollow
weak
to me
too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's a bunch of types of shaman, but are they really that different? Like, because one is
well, that's what Danae followed
up with. One has 4 mana 7/7s and one doesn't, right?
Yeah.
One has
well, big difference.
One doesn't. Like that's kind of the difference.
Yeah,
they all still have like a pretty similar shell, right?
The opening for all of them is pretty much the same unless you draw bad. You're gonna have Tunnel Trog, you're gonna have Golem, and you're gonna have Tuskar Totemic. Really, no matter what shaman you're playing right now, unless you're out there making your own deck and you're purposely just being a hipster and avoiding those 3 cards that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
But all the archetypes. Yeah, that's and Danae said that. He said that even though there are different archetypes, which is good, it still feels, quote, kind of similar when you're playing against them, regardless of what shaman archetype it is.
Yeah.
It would also, and this point just came up in chat too, it'd be interesting to say, or like what meta they're talking about. Are they specifically talking like the leveling part where you go from 25 to 1? Are they talking about like the competitive part where you go from, like bottom of legend to top of legend? Because I think those are really different metas. So when they say that the meta overall is healthy, are they talking about the whole entire game, or are they talking about competitive legend, or are they talking about the experience that the majority of the player base has? Because those are all very different.
Yeah, while they didn't specify to that level of granularity, this section was the point where it was brought up that 20% of the decks on ladder are shaman. So to me, I read into most of this discussion as a discussion of just standard ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what they're referencing here. If you talk about wild, you're going to be seeing lots of different stuff.
Yep.
So,
jeez, yeah, it's mostly paladins and wild.
I don't think shaman is necessarily like the best actual deck. right now, I do think it's very strong. I think one of the reasons that you see it so much is not because there's so many versions of it, but because it's a deck that you can wrap your head around pretty easily, right? So most of the player base knows how to play on curve, right?
Yeah.
It knows how to just, oh, Totem Golem is really good. Oh, the Tuskar Totemic is really good. I just play that, right? Like most of the player base can wrap their head around that. So it's not a tricky deck, and it's good, right? So it's similar in a way to say where like Secret Paladin was, where it's not a deck that is hard to pilot, and is also one that wins a lot. So that like those two things together is what makes a deck so popular, right? Not necessarily that it's just like an oppressive deck as far as win rate is concerned. I'm sure its win rate is probably pretty healthy.
I mean, they came back to statistics so many times in this interview without actually revealing many of the statistics, which rubs me the wrong way. But they constantly kept saying, "Oh no, well the stats don't say that."
Sure.
To many of the points that that Cam Shea brought up. But yeah, I mean, how is it even worth it to bring up the fact? Because this is the point we see all the time. There's whatever we bring up on this show as a negative or as something that there's too much of, we always get the counter argument in the inbox to our Twitter, comments on the YouTube and on the website that it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Yogg, whether it's Shaman, whatever it is that's irritating you, there's always going to be something next. If they nerf Shaman, it'll be whatever the next class is. If they get rid of Yogg Saron, it'll be whatever the next broken card is. Before Yogg Saron, it was Dr. Boom. And to a certain degree, yeah, I get that. That is a point. But I don't personally see a lot of value in that statement.
Well, I think that implies that you don't need to necessarily worry about balance. So that's why I don't like that comment, because then it makes it sound like, well, if there's always going to be something, then who really cares about being like 100% accurate? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that that's kind of a dangerous statement to stand behind. So I don't like that statement at all. Yeah. I think that they should always be striving for there not to be another one. And that's when you've kind of cracked the code and you've made the perfect game.
I mean, personally, I don't mind a deck being really good as long as it does have a solid counter, right? And if it has a solid counter, then it tends to not be everywhere because the meta just switches to countering it, right? Like you see, like Zoo will get really popular, right? Zoo will be super popular, and then all of a sudden everyone goes, hey, well, Zoo's really good, so I should probably be playing a lot of AoE. And then next thing you know, Zoo's not so good anymore, right? And then Zoo just goes away, and then Zoo will eventually pop back up. But like Shaman right now, just like it just is there, right? Because all their minions are too big to AoE, and it's just they come out too early before you have your AoE, and then they have like the best weapon in the game, and then they have, So I mean that's the problem that I have with it. It's just that there needs to be a solid counter, and once that happens, then we're good to go. And of course, I think once like Totem Golem and Tuskar came out at the same time, right?
Yes.
Grand Tournament. So once those go away, I don't know. Shaman will probably be fine at that point, right? Because then you'll have to play like the super totem version or whatever the witch doctor thing or something like that.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard to make that call because you don't know what's being added to the game.
We don't know
those
what's going to be
things
coming.
are leaving the game.
Yeah.
But you're right. They're both rotating out at the same time, and isn't TGT rotating out next year?
Yes.
Yeah. So very shortly, that won't even be a problem.
It's actually interesting because right now, looking at my stats, it's Mage and Shaman I'm seeing the most. And I kind of felt like it was going to be Hunter in there too, but apparently Mage and Shaman. And Mage is about to lose Flame Waker, and then Shaman's going to lose Tuskar Totemic and Totem Golem pretty soon.
And
so
Tunnel Trog, apparently, according to chat room.
Yeah.
So basically their whole super powerful opener. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that because that's League of Explorers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were focusing on TGT. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Shaman's going to be, but again, it's not like we can sit here and make the call like Shaman's going to be totally fine and not nearly as annoying because who knows, they might give them even more crazy cards.
But I think if the last few expansions hold true, they give Shaman the best cards.
But yeah, I think that we have one more expansion coming out this year before all that stuff kind of rotates out. So I think we'll be in a better place to talk about it later on in the year. But at the same time, I don't think that they're going to replace what we've got in Shaman now with similar cards, same as we didn't see like Muster for Battle and Shield and Minibot get directly replaced for Paladin.
Sure.
So I think it's fairly safe to say that with those rotating out, it's going to be difficult for Shaman to have such an oppressive opening.
Yeah. I think that's probably the key too. It's just that they open so fast, right? If they didn't open so fast, then the mid-range portion of their deck is actually fine and can totally be dealt with. But you're so far behind at that point that it doesn't really matter what you do. Yeah, you know what's funny is the prediction that there was always going to be some sort of replacement for cards totally did not come true. Everybody thought, oh, they're going to print some new Sludge Belcher, right? They're going to print some new Healbot. They did not. They didn't even come close. They're like, no, those cards are gone now.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can make an argument that, you know, every card they'll have some new version of it. Like they'll always. I think there's going to be a lot of change when these new sets come. These old sets rotate out. It's some new deck is going to be the one we all complain about. That's my prediction.
Yes, that will always be the case. So let's look at the opposite side of this pendulum into the not winning all that much side of things, which is Priest. And Danae said that he's excited for the next set in regards to Priest, and apparently when they started working on this next set of cards that they have not talked about publicly, so I'm assuming he's discussing the next expansion now, is right when the Priest meme started, which also gives us a strange look into what their lead time is, I think, on how long it takes them to, you know, from conceiving a set and actually getting it to us. Because that, I mean, how long ago was the hardcore Priest memeage like? And that's the question. There's been multiple. Was it everyone losing their mind over Purify, or was it even further back? And
it was
we
before
talking?
Purify came out. People were losing their minds. I would say like a month to 2 months before Karazhan was when people started to really make a big deal about it.
Yeah, I think it was kind of just before Standard and Old Gods is when it's kind of started. Like there were whispers, whispers of memes.
See, I think of after that the Unicorn Priest. That's what I thought of.
Well, see, yeah, the thing is then, so people kind of thought it was bad before Standard, but had hopes for what Old Gods were going to do, and then Old Gods didn't really help Priest as much as people thought it was going to, and that's when it started to ramp up. And then there was talk of the Unicorn Priest.
But the talk about Priest was before Unicorn ever happened.
Before Unicorn Priest, because that's what exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that was Brode responding to all the people constantly asking him about Priest, and he was like, well, there's a good deck out there somewhere. You just haven't found it yet." And then people lost their mind with that one.
Yeah, so I feel like we're probably looking at kind of a March-ish timeline, March, April, for when the Priest talk started. So that's like 6 months ago, which is, you know, probably about the timelines that I would think that they would have 6 months out for an expansion.
I would think they're a couple expansions ahead in all time.
Yeah, makes sense. That's something that's been a lot of us, I feel like, have been having these conversations, though, is we're curious how set in stone certain cards are, how far out, because it certainly seems like that's what happened with a card like Purify, right? Because it was absolutely wrong card, wrong time. It would have been okay for that card to come out, I think, with an expansion with a lot of other cards, not as big of a deal, but the fact that it came in with an adventure at a time where there was that type of public opinion and honestly stats to back it up that Priest was struggling. That's the kind of thing I'm very curious about their timelines and how nimble they can be to be like, well, this is what we conceived 6 months ago and we just have to put this out, or if they can make changes.
I don't think it was set in stone, though, because they didn't necessarily say that, you know, like Purify was a bad card or they weren't able to change Purify. What they said was they had misinterpreted or misunderstood the community's feelings. So that was them not realizing. That wasn't them realizing and saying, well, we can't change it now. And I think that's a really big distinction that we need to make, is that they just didn't understand how upset people already were.
Well, then, I mean, I'm not even concerned about how the public opinion. I'm concerned with the stats. Like, just they keep going back to their stats. Go look at your stats. I'm sure Priest was not doing well.
Yeah, but I don't think that they use stats in the Purify argument. I think that they thought that
no, but what I'm saying is
the other two cards that were released would help Priest, and they weren't expecting the community reaction that they got.
Well, that's fair enough. Okay. Well, I don't know, because they got even deeper into it. They got to they started talking about in this interview that the priest early game is just kind of non-existent, and Ixar got into talking a lot about the Resurrect Priest, saying that it does initially seem powerful, but it's not the most consistent thing in the world. You do have to get lucky.
And he said you have to play it kind of greedy, which then gets punished by any deck that's not greedy and just plays on curve.
Exactly.
The whole thing about Priest being a tricky class is a little bit weird, because when I think about what Priest has now, I don't see any tricks here. I mean, obviously, Resurrecting,
go
think
deeper.
of as a trick, but
go deeper into that. Mike Dene specifically said that he views, and kind of sounded like he was speaking for Team 5 as a whole, that they kind of view Priest as a, quote, tricky class, and that they see that players that get excited about Priest are the same type of players that get excited for classes like Rogue. And he said that when they gave them Dragon Priest, that it was just a curved deck rather than a tricky deck. Now, he didn't go as far as to say that they were unhappy with Dragon Priest, but that's definitely the vibe I'm getting from his response. I really liked Dragon Priest, and to me, it's the only time that Priest felt really good to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play Priest very tricky, that's fine. And I play Milkshake is the deck I'm most known for, and that's the trickiest deck I've ever played in my life, right? Yeah. But the fact is, it's just so bad, right? It's fun, and there's all these tricks. And when I think of tricks, I think of things like Shrinkmeistering something and then caballing it, right? And that kind of stuff. But in the latest round, and even in Old Gods, they didn't really get a lot of cool tricks anymore. Mm-hmm. In fact, I feel like they've lost a lot of tricks. You can't call Excavated Evil a trick, right? Just because it puts the card in the other guy's deck. To me, it's just I don't know. It's like they've lost that part of what made them interesting for a long time, and it's been kind of replaced by, here, just do nothing. Oh, now you have no catch-up mechanics either. So sorry. It's just, and resurrecting things isn't really tricky. It's a cool thing. And when you get it set up, it's awesome, but it's still random. I still just press this button and whatever comes back, right? I don't really
You don't control it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as doing all the stuff you used to do with Priest, where it did feel like you were waiting for them to do something, and then you were like, aha, I gotcha. You fell right into my Priest trap, and that's not really how it feels anymore. Now it just kind of feels like I don't have a Priest trap. I'm just praying and hoping I curve out perfectly, and that's the problem, I think. So I would like to see them. If they want to make them tricky, that's fine, but bring the tricks back,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Stuff
I think that's part
of the trick, right?
I think it's part of what Dene was saying, though, is that he doesn't think that they were successful in keeping that thing. He didn't go as far as that. He didn't spell it out that Priest right now, we failed. But again, it's the vibe I got from reading this. The most recent thing he talked about was Dragon Priest, and I think there might be a reason he's avoiding, kind of giving concrete statements on the current state of Priest.
I think,
chat said they might be mishearing things, but he said he thinks they're saying it's tricky to make Priest cards. No, they literally want to make, he says, explore the trick concept further in the future. Literally says that.
Yeah, no.
They want Priest to be has cool little things that it does that aren't just play a minion on curve, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's not. He's not. That's Dilge. You got it right on the head. He wasn't saying that it's tricky to design. He's saying that they should be a class with tricks.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to see them explore Discipline Priest a little bit more, because that's something that I feel like outside of Holy Nova, they don't really have a lot of those mechanics, and I think that might kind of be key to making Priest a little bit better, is to be able to heal and deal damage at the same time. So that's basically how a Discipline Priest works in Warcraft, is, you're dealing some damage and then you're healing your allies as kind of almost a byproduct. So I think that's kind of a really cool mechanic that we don't really have a lot of in Priest right now, because just sitting back and healing is way too passive, and Shadow Priest just never really became a thing. So I'm wondering if doing more of the damage and healing at the same time is where Priest needs to go.
I would like them to make Shadow Priest an actual thing.
Yeah, me too.
That works.
I love the theme of Discipline Priests and would love to see that as well. But at the same time, go deeper. I've been wanting them to go deeper into Shadow Priest since the base set. When I saw Shadow form, that looked so cool to me. But
they have given us half the cards we need, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they've even got the Inspire card that deals damage to both heroes and stuff like that. But they haven't really gone all the way down that rabbit hole. And one thing like Blizzard has done a lot is like force these archetypes on us. Like Beast Druid, guys, please do it.
Just do it, yeah.
And they keep giving us cards that literally, like, you look at them and you go, okay, I see what you're trying to make us do. I got it. But with Shadow Priest, they're like, here's a Shadow Boxer and then nothing else, right? And you're like, well, wait a minute. Like, why give me this card to just not let me actually do anything with it? Like, that, I think, is, a little annoying and makes deck building a little bit funky. And sure, like, one day you'll be able to play the sickest Shadow Priest in Wild. But to make it work like in Standard, you need to have lots of actual options. And even if a lot of those options are also available in the neutral set, that would be fine too. But you need to give us a base to work with that actually is functioning, right?
Yeah. What was it? Embrace the Shadow. We got that out, significantly after Shadow Boxer. But again, more stuff like that. And I think that's even part of what we talked about leading into Karazhan. When we were talking about Onyx Bishop and stuff like that, is like, we're getting a couple tools to dig just a hair deeper into Resurrect Priest, but why not give us even more?
Yeah.
So
there's actually a really interesting suggestion here in chat that's apparently someone in Reddit suggested having a bunch of cards based off of Shadow Form. So if you're in Shadow Form, the card is more powerful, right? So it's deal 3 damage, but if you're in Shadow Form, deal 6 damage. That's a really interesting idea. Like, once you actually turn Shadow Form, you, like, activate cards and make them stronger. I kind of like that idea. Because Shadow Form sucks in its current, incarnation, right? 3 mana to change your hero power. It just costs too much to do initially, and it takes too long to ramp into it. Once you get there, it's really great, right? But you need to have some sort of other reason to be doing it, and I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. Me personally, and I have no idea if this, design would work, in the long run, but I like the idea of I kind of prefer things like Cabal Shadow Priest and Embrace the Shadow, where it's temporarily causing your heals to do damage, because I like the idea of a priest being able to ebb and flow between shadow and light, of being able to cause damage and then heal. Shadow Form being permanent, I feel kind of pigeonholes a bit. I would, but at the same time, go ahead, double down on that, but make sure you give me other cards that allow me to heal myself even after I take Shadow Form. I would like. I mean,
Arcanize in the base set, so that's never going anywhere. But yeah, it's true. If you think about like what Shadow Priest is, though, like in WoW, it's like I'm damage dealer. That's what I do, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to see that type of, like, I'm just trying to burn you down as fast as possible.
I would like to see that too. And then to drop my cynical joke, Hearthstone clearly sticks so close to Warcraft for inspiration. I mean, Shaman summon giant, monstrosities for almost no mana all the time in that game.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just had to get that little jab in. But it's hard to get excited about anything they talked about here, because they didn't give us any idea of what they're actually thinking about doing.
No, it's a lot of we understand your sentiment, and we think about it and we talk about it, but not a lot of here's what we're doing, which I understand. I mean, these guys, Danae and Ixar, are not necessarily the guys who are going to come out and make a huge announcement, right, in an interview with IGN. But they're super intelligent, and when you hear them talk about it, it's very clear they understand the community sentiment. And I bet if the shackles were off, they could tell us all sorts of cool stuff that's happening. But the shackles are not off. They are very firmly on.
And I'm not asking for a giant announcement. I'm not asking for every time they put an interview to be like, and the next 3 expansions are. But, just like, this is an avenue. This is another possible avenue. They got a little bit into, like a tiny bit into that when they talked about Yogg Saron. But barely. Other than that, a lot of this is just head nodding.
Actually, the Yogg they were literally like, here's 3 things we might do.
Well,
okay,
hold on. I think you're giving them too much credit. Cam Shea said, here's 3 possibilities, and they just said, yep.
Oh, and they said, yeah, you're right. Those would be 3 things.
Why not?
But even then, those 3 possibilities cover basically everything they can do with the card.
And that too. Yeah.
Change it, leave it the same, or put it in wild. That's like all you can do with the card.
What else are you gonna do? Well, we're gonna give it some new art.
An interview about lights and being like, well, I mean, we could turn it on or we could turn it off. I mean,
or we could just unscrew the light bulb.
Those are 2 options right now. Yeah, it's true. It is true.
All right, all
They're
right,
the
all right.
broadest options.
All right, I'm putting my foot down. We are not getting drugged down another Yogg-Saron hole here.
No, we are not. It's in the interview though, so we're
It
allowed
is
to
in
talk about
it is in the interview. Yeah. But
A Yogg-Saron hole, you mean Ulduar? Basically a giant Yogg-Saron.
he was in a giant hole. You're right. You
Yeah,
know
he
what?
was,
You're
yep.
completely correct.
By the way, are we going? Have we going back to Ulduar at some point? Embrace the spoilers for me, real quick, because we had that
Yes.
like
Well,
little thing in
You
WoW
are-
where
you're
we went back
scared.
in
in the
and we got to push the button, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen it again.
yeah,
since.
in the some of the pre scenarios leading up to Legion, we went back to Ulduar.
I was so excited about it too. I was like, oh my god, I'm back in Ulduar.
Yeah, I was kind of dope too. I was just happy to be back, and it was cool to see a raid after it had been raided. Like I got to hang
Right.
out, and things weren't trying to kill me.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
was-
so cool to have like an actual timeline occur, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Anyway,
Hey,
that's
MMOs
our
with
WoW
living-
portion of tech today.
MMOs with living, breathing worlds. Who'd have thought? They're kind of cool. They talked about Arena as well. Cam Shea originally, like right off the bat, just asked, "Hey, how does it look?" You know, from the stat side of things. And Ixar said that they are looking at the stats. The class win rates have gotten more condensed, which was the goal. Which means the win rates between classes are now getting closer to one another. But he did say it is too early to really tell what the impact is.
I wonder if that's because people know that things have changed, and so some of the better players are more likely to pick different classes than they were a few weeks ago before the changes.
I'm sure that has an effect, right? I think we talk about this with every other Blizzard game. You know, if say a hero gets buffed in the PTR in Heroes of the Storm, whether it's actually a good build or not, people like try that hero way more than they used to, especially if it's an underutilized hero. Recently happened with Sergeant Hammer, for example. So I don't think it's any. I think that absolutely is an effect to take into account when in even Hearthstone.
I think
numbers
what
definitely get skewed.
what I would be most interested to hear about in Arena is, did the number of people playing Arena increase? Just like base number of people, are there more people playing now? Yes or no? That's the question that I want
They will
answered.
never to answer that. They will never tell you that. Because obviously we're
Doesn't mean I can't ask or I don't want to know.
yeah. I have a feeling that question would not get approved if we had sent that over for our next Team 5 interview. But they also talked about how they kind of went about choosing what cards to remove. They originally looked at the classes that were performing that had the worst performance stat-wise and looked at removing cards from their pool first. Which what we kind of assumed, right, when we were looking at the cards that were removed.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought the interesting thing though is when they actually talked about some of the actual cards. So
Yeah,
Succubus, like some people had talked about Succubus being a card that maybe should not have been removed. I think Succubus was fine, but the one that I think most people were looked at and said, "Wow, that's a weird decision," was Wind Fury versus Wind Speaker. And they definitely addressed that. They said the stats were almost exactly the same, so they just made a judgment call. It's a weird judgment call to make, though. It really is.
I kind of wonder why they didn't just take both.
yeah, that was kind of my
Like,
reaction
if the stats
after.
were so close and
like, after-
negative, then why
yeah.
didn't they just go, whoop, gone?
Yeah, after reading this and seeing how many cards they removed, why not? What's one more card?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one that I thought was the strangest. I found Succubus very interesting because the popular opinion was, oh, it's not that bad. And Ixar kind of said, no. The internal stats, it's that bad.
It's terrible.
So, also, Jocelyn, you got a shout out on Eye for an Eye.
Oh, I saw.
Yep.
That was
Enjoy.
an interesting argument they made for that, where that was like that made a cool story if you won with Eye for an Eye or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like there's some other cards that they got rid of that could make cool stories too. So if that's really the reason to keep a card like
Well,
that,
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, because the shout out was in there, like, I don't want to overinflate my or our impact on any of this, but I do feel like anytime anything happens with Eye for an Eye, I get a tweet or we get an email. Like, our crazy game stories have Eye for an Eye in them all the time. And then, like I say, when people do things, I get tweeted with screenshots, and usually people like, Hearthstone or, sometimes like Ixar, Young, or Broad are tagged in them. And I feel like because it was such an iconic card for this show at the beginning, there's probably a lot more sharing specifically about that card than maybe some of the other fun makers.
Possibly.
Does that make sense? And I'm sure this is my skewed view of the Hearthstone world, but you know, when I think of Eye for an Eye stories, I'm pretty sure I'm tagged in all of them.
I have never once seen Eye for an Eye brought up where you were not mentioned.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty much on board with that.
And Jocelyn, you should just feel grateful that your meme card is still in Standard, because ever since Crackle has been put in the wild coffin, I get a lot less tweets. I'm just saying.
Eye for an Eye forever is basically what you're telling me.
Pretty much.
It's never going to let me go.
Pretty
Got
much.
it.
I actually think they should have just had a rule not to remove secrets, period. Honestly. Because they removed secrets from Hunter, and I was watching like Shady Bunny and Merps and Adwakta and all those guys talk about this. And removing, like, you could not pick Snipe, and you cannot pick Dart Trap, but the fact that they're in there and the player has to play around, the other player has to play around them, is actually still really good. The card
It's
is
worth something.
like
Yeah.
other cards are better because that card exists, right? Whether it's in your deck or not. And so the fact that you never have to play around Snipe ever again in Arena, the fact that you never have to play around Dart Trap ever again, is kind of a big deal. And they maybe should have not done that, I think. You know? It's like
Dean
secrets
actually
we leave alone because the fact that they all exist is what makes them all so good. Right?
I didn't put it in the highlights because there was so many other things to highlight, but Ixar did comment specifically on Snipe and reference to Lightforge.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I skimmed through this article, so I must have missed that.
Yeah. He said that there's, I'm just going to quote him here. He said that there's two questions surrounding that. The first is Arena less fun because when a trap gets played, you're no longer playing around Snipe anymore. You know it's either explosive or it's freezing. He said, I think that's a valid point. I think that playing around more traps and really wondering what those are is very interesting. But I think at the end of the day, when you're shooting to make an impact, and that was one of the major goals, removing Snipe and Dart Trap was just something that we felt we had to do to really make an impact.
And then, that makes sense because if you look at the pool of Hunter cards, secrets are a large part of that pool. And if you look at the stats, you got to remove some stuff, and secrets are going to be kind of part of that discussion. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, I had a game yesterday on the ladder where I played against this new like Secrets Hunter, and it was actually incredibly satisfying to beat the Secrets Hunter by correctly playing around, all of the traps. I think at some point in the game he played probably 10 traps, right, throughout the course of the game. And I navigated through all of them in such a way that I was able to then win the game. And it was really satisfying, right, to have done that. And it takes away from that kind of feeling and the complexity of what secrets do when you remove some. So, it's like it's a weird thing. You put secrets in the game and you need them to then have lots of other options, right? So for it to do what it is, right, to live up to what it is. I would like to see them revisit these arena changes at some point and maybe make some new ones when the next set comes out and like continue to kind of tweak. But it's cool that they like addressed it directly here. I was happy to hear that.
Yeah. Cam Shea actually ended this interview by asking if the player base is big enough to support formats in Arena. And all we got was a yes. And no elaboration whatsoever.
That is good news, though. The fact that it's on their radar, it's an option for them, right? They could have said no. End of story.
Well, we've talked about on this show, that in Arena, you're already kind of separated out, right, by your bracket of how well you've done, right, your wins and losses. And a lot of people have talked about, oh, well, I bet there's not that many people playing Arena. But I play Arena, and the queue still pops real fast no matter what my record is. So there's plenty of people playing Arena.
Hearthstone is a wildly popular game.
Yeah. At all times of the day. I'll be streaming at 4 a.m, and I'll play some Arena. I'll click that button, and within 20 seconds, I got a match. So
Yep.
there's definitely room for more.
Wild is the same, too. I think that there's a big player base in all formats right now. Even Tavern Brawl, not on the first day. Like,
how many
you
tweets?
can still get matches like 2 or 3 days into Brawl, which is pretty great.
How many tweets do we get from folks where, like, do you pay attention to this? Because I look at it every week after Wednesday, and I am completely blown away by the amount of wins on somebody's Tavern Brawl screenshot. Like, I don't, it is so far beyond my realm of things I give even the remotest crap about. to play Tavern Brawl that many times that I do not understand it. I don't understand that mindset to just grind out Tavern Brawl. But that's the thing. I think everyone who thinks that there's not enough players in Arena, who thinks that there's not enough players in Wild, who thinks there's not enough players in Tavern Brawl, they need to reconcile with that fact, because good God, like, that's the thing I think is the weirdest thing in the world. It's right up there with furries. I don't know why it exists, and I think you're weird, but it's fine. Cool. You do you, man. And that's the thing with Hearthstone, dude. There's so many people playing this. I think they get, and that's part of my lack of format frustration. That's the kind of, for me, at the root of it, it's like, there's so many people playing. Give us something a little deeper. Why not? Give us something more robust. We totally have enough people to support it.
Yeah, it's a problem, and a lot of games wish they had, right?
Yeah.
It's not a problem, but I mean, it's a feature a lot of games wish they had, right?
Yeah.
That we could make. We have so many players that we could split them up, and we still have enough players. Like, it's exciting. They should take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten a hard number about how many people there are playing Hearthstone in a while, but the last time I can remember, it was over 20 million.
I think the highest we got was 40, right? Didn't they say 40 at some point?
Was it 40 million? Goodness gracious.
I don't know if they said that was.
Or it was like 40 million
concurrent.
accounts.
I think there had been 40 million accounts. Yeah.
That's a small country, dude.
But yeah, that's the thing, and when
that's
you think
more than Canada.
That's a
Okay,
medium-sized
stop.
country.
Yeah,
Never
stop
mind.
your small country.
That's like a medium-sized country that might have actual laws and. It's pretty cute
I mean, if we're going down that rabbit hole,
My poor country.
we're going down that rabbit hole. Jocelyn, Canada has very similar issue with Australia in that only a small percentage of your actual landmass is inhabitable by humans.
You could live there.
Yeah, if you're a wildling or a White Walker, sure. But
It
no,
would be really difficult to live there, but you can
Canada's
do it.
not that bad. Come on.
Florida man
It's
talks
very
Canada
inhabitable.
smack.
It's just not inhabited.
Yeah. Anyways, the last thing I wanted to bring up is in the IGN article, in-game tournament support and card bans coming to the actual game was brought up. And the saddest thing I've heard all year, nothing is in development. Guys, I quit. I'm going to just walk away now.
Yeah.
This made me so mad. I do not understand how they can't be working on it when they've been talking about it for years. The community's been talking about it for years. Like, the very first thing that the community said, hey, we would really like tournament mode, that was back the game was still in beta.
Yeah.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad by this.
Okay, I
I
unquit.
don't get why it's not. Yeah, not even if they have
Like,
it
they're
in
not even
production, right?
trying.
Like, I don't even care if they're coding it, but somebody should at least have a binder with some ideas written down, right?
Right?
They
Something.
said, I quote, "We've been talking about it for years," and I yelled at my monitor, "And so have we!" And I don't mean we as in the three of us, as in Reddit, as in the forums, as in multiple
Yeah.
emails in our inboxes and tweets. Yeah, this is a boil over point for me personally.
Yeah. I mean, and I was really lucky to have good help this weekend, and Taco went by without a hitch, but there are so many requirements for World Championship points, things like deck lists, things like bans, that are so easy to, forget which deck your opponent banned, or, to, for admins to try to police deck lists. It would be so much easier if it was just built into the client. And I don't understand, when you're giving HCT points away for tournaments, how you can't support your own freaking format.
I don't.
Sorry.
I think honestly, I mean, yeah, it's probably a rabbit hole we shouldn't go down, but the fact that there are these tournaments that then get approved by Blizzard to give out HCT points
And they're
is
online.
actually a really bad idea just to begin with. I hope that idea goes away next year, because there's been all this talk, people abuse it. Basically just play in as many of those as you can, and you will end up qualifying, right? Because you can just play in 5 a week or whatever, right? And it's just dumb, right? And then there's all these, and it's up to the whim of whoever's running it if they run it well or bad or whatever. And then it gets people to HCT. It's it'd be so much better if in the client there was HCT qualifying tournament, and you could join it. And it was once a month, You could go in there and then like the top 4 people would make it to the next round or something, and like all of that would just be so much better. The whole format of all this stuff would be so much better. And it's just like the fact that they're not even talking, like they're not even doing anything yet. Like that's just no, it's like frustrating. It's infuriating.
Exactly, because every single time they've said we have a big announcement, all the way back to TGT when they were teasing tournament things. I was like, tournament things.
The word tournament.
Exactly.
Said many times.
It's one of those things that, you know, every time they say they have a big announcement, I assume this time is the time we're going to get tournament mode. And it never has been. And it's disappointing every time. But every time I say, okay, maybe next time. To hear that they're not even trying, it's not even in development. There's nobody making, you know, little mock-ups of anything. It is absolutely infuriating. And someone in chat said, well, maybe that's only a very, very small portion of the player base. And I think personally, the fact that there are multiple private companies that are currently making a profit so that they actually exist, that all they do is they run tournaments. The fact that Battlefy and Tournament and Challenge, like they all exist, which means that there are enough people to support multiple private enterprises. Why is Hearthstone not doing this?
But not only that, like those things exist and you have to seek them out. If it was in the client, tons of people would use it because it's right there in the client. There's a button you just push and you do it. Rather than I have to look it up and find out when a tournament is and then go enter it and then show up at a specific time and all that stuff. Like I would play more tournaments like today if it wasn't such a pain in the ass. And it really is a pain in the ass. I played a lot of online tournaments and every single time it takes way too long. It shouldn't be this complicated. There's all these weird rules that you have to look through. If it was just in the damn client and I could just say I want this type of tournament, I want to start now, or I want to play the scheduled one or whatever, and I just push the button, tons more people would participate than currently do.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. That's the problem. Like, you can't look at something and say, oh, well, not that many people do it. Because maybe not that many people do it because it sucks, right? Like talk about Arena before where it was all mages. Maybe more people would do it if they paid attention to it, right? So it's, you know, they feed each other, those two things.
If anything, I think the amount of people that actually do participate in tournaments is an argument to say, like, look how many people are already doing it, even though it really sucks. Like, make it not suck, and so many more people are going to take advantage. Not to mention all of the, like I mentioned before with HCT, like all the support that would be there for your chosen format of picking who is the best at your game. Like, not to have that built into the client. I'm getting tangent-y and not actually finishing my points, so I'm going to stop talking now.
I am personally
really
entertained.
This makes me really angry. So
I am so entertained right now because I feel like this must be what it's like for most people to listen to me go off about a lack. Anytime Arena is brought up, I'm keeping it in check on this one because I've already said my piece a couple episodes ago. But it's very entertaining. Jocelyn, don't change, is what I'm basically saying.
Not a lot of things make me this angry, but this makes me angry.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's random little things too, like the fact that the spectator client still shows you the hand upside down and all that. Like, it's like all these weird little things kind of build up to just being like, why? Like, what is going on? Like, not only did I have to download OBS Studio to be able to properly broadcast our taco. But then I had to like turn it and tilt it to get it to like show in the box properly. Well, to be able to actually like tell what the card was. It's just like it's all the little things, and then it's like the big thing of, oh yeah, we're just not even.
Yeah, exactly. That's the final smack in the face. Yeah, we're just not even.
There's two big things for me to get it away from tournament specific. Obviously tournament mode is something I want horribly, and when I read this I got physically angry when I read this particular I think it was and I love XR. He's the first Blizzard employee I ever talked to, like the first dude that ever was like, yo, I listened to your show, all the way back when he was like in QA before he was kicking people's asses in Hearthstone. But XR's never said anything in his life that made me this angry, and I just started shaking with rage. But that aside, to look at the bigger picture, the two biggest things for me is when in interviews like this, and we don't even get that many Team 5 interviews anymore, unless there's a big announcement and the only thing they talk about is what was just announced. so that's fine. So the issue is we've mentioned week after week that it's a bit of a communication issue. So when you do take time to put yourself out there, to talk to the community, and all you do is agree with the criticism saying, yes, we're working on it, or when something like tournament mode is brought up, a highly requested feature is brought up, and you say, no, we're not working on it, it's hard to make everyone happy. What's going to be the most fun for everybody? An actual quote. That's fine. Do that. But tell us what you think is going to make everyone happy. Tell us what you think is coming. Because 3 big releases of just new cards, I'm not sure. I'm sure everyone on Team 5 doesn't believe this, but it seems like the marketing message coming from them is there's enough content coming out for Hearthstone. And I don't believe there is. I believe new features and feature improvements and interface improvements are also needed to continue to make Hearthstone an even greater game that it is. They have even many more millions of players playing this game than are already playing it. So that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. It seems like they're surprised when stuff like this comes up, and it's like, well, no, you only talk to us 3 times a year for new cards. When's the next kind of new thing coming? Tavern Brawl came out of nowhere. We didn't even know it was coming. That's fine. That's cool. We've got a new button. It is great for the casual side of Hearthstone. But what about the more hardcore? What about those of us who do want a more robust experience? And I'm not saying that that's the only category that matters. I'm just saying that I think the casual players have gotten enough new things. I think it's time for the pendulum to swing in the other direction a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, I think the biggest point you made, though, is like when you do say something of substance, right? Because just telling us that, like literally this quote, there's a ton of features that are on the radar. Okay, great.
Cool. What
are they? Are you working on anything?
Any one of those features, yeah.
Or do you just want to
tell
say,
me which
here's
one
all
is
the
like
things.
the closest, or give me like a general idea of which ones you're actually working on. We all understand your thought process is we need to make the one that affects the most people. We've heard that before, so tell me something new. Tell me something I don't know, right?
Yeah.
As a rude man once told me.
Yes. So that's the thing. And I think that's why it's easy for these conversations to get into critical territory, to get overly critical, because we start to just spiral with, well, what could it be? And then we start to look, could it be this? Could it be that? This could be an improvement. That could be an improvement. Direct our minds as a community a little bit.
Sure.
Please.
The fact is, I know people were critical of the show that we did before the Negranu episode because we were being critical of the game and the state of the game, and a lot of people I think tuned into this show just to hear us like gush about our favorite game, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is, like, we also love the game to the point that we want it to be better, right? It's like, you love your kid, but you still want him to learn how to tie his shoes, right? It's like you don't just go like, he's perfect. I just, I let him pee and poo wherever he wants, and whatever. He's great. I love him. He's the best. Like,
I feel like
you want him to mold him into a better person, right?
I feel like you kind of landed on an almost effective metaphor there, Dills, because it kind of feels like Hearthstone is like your kid that somehow just became wildly successful. It's like your kid went, he skipped like crawling, walking, tying his shoes, and potty training, but just went straight to being a 6-figure, salaried doctor. It's like, cool, you're a crazy successful doctor.
Justin Bieber.
Oh, go
Jindo. Rocketed to success.
No, that's rude.
But
pulls
he's a
his wang
douchebag.
out randomly, and he drives cars too fast.
No, that's just
exactly.
Jocelyn.
There's a lot of improvement there.
I won't allow that, Jocelyn. That's just rude. Also, you're in Canada, so please do something about this. Take him back. We don't want him anymore. Anyways,
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like he's so
We'll go ahead
great
and
at
bottle
so
cap
many
this now.
things, but for whatever reason, he constantly headbutts me in the face, and I just don't get it. Like, why?
again, I feel like that's a bit of a rude analogy, but anyways, that I think that's enough for now. There's even more to this interview. Go to IGN.com. Cam Shea's awesome. Cam does great work. This is only part 1 of the interview, so keep your eyes on IGN for the next one. Let's
He emailed this article, didn't he? Like directly, or somebody did. Yeah, it was like, hey, by the way,
was it Cam? I know Cam sent us articles before. I didn't know if Cam actually sent us this one.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was
We
just
usually
perusing.
get the heads up whenever there's a new interview for
which
him.
is really nice of him to like
Yeah.
think of us.
Yeah, Cam's a great guy. Before we move into strategy, we're going to talk about Malygos Druid and Midrange Shaman. We need to thank our patrons at patreon.com/TAC. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we're very close to our next goal. We'll be doing an extra episode, which will be primarily video content once a month, where we will alternate between an arena video or a Cluck the Meta video, where we make our own deck, where the sole purpose is to give the meta the middle finger and build something really weird and take it out for a spin. So if you like the show, if you dig it, and you like that fun stuff, or you just want a little more arena content, go to patreon.com/TAC and support us. On this episode, we wanted to thank Everin, William S., Derek T., Matt S., Just Deluxe. Somebody's name is Just Deluxe. Your parents gave you an awesome name. Robert J., Poodle Puncher, and Sacha G. Poodle Puncher winning the name game this week. Unless you like poodles, then he probably lost the name game.
I was going to say, poor
I'm
puppies.
I'm not a poodle fan. If it was Chihuahua Puncher, I would be offended. So, well, let's get into this week's strategy discussion.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
So, we're going to talk about some old decks that have had some new life breathed into them on today's episode. Malygos Druid and Midrange Shaman. These are both archetypes that have been around for a while. Malygos Druid has come and gone so many times now. Ixar even brought it up in the interview that people have been trying to make this work for years. And here it is back once again after some Karazhan tweaks. So Dills, I know you've been playing Malygos Druid. I know Joss and I have been playing Midrange Shaman, and I know you have gone up against many Midrange Shamans. Even though
I understand what Midrange Shaman is trying to do.
you
don't have to play the deck to have plenty of experience.
You sure about that?
I was playing some Malygos Druid today too.
Okay.
And we
Oh,
saw
yeah?
some in Taco this weekend as well.
We did, yeah.
You did.
I have a slightly different version than this one, which I started out using a version very close to this. I think this was the version that 6.0 came up with, but I ended up dumping the Thaurissan and the Gadgets and Auctioneer and the Moonglade Portal, and going back towards like a single Violet Teacher, a single Power of the Wild, and I put in like a Blood Mage Thalnos and some other stuff, and one Arcane Giant. And I have gone, I've got like a 75% win rate with the deck, so it's very good. Very, very good right now. And you can definitely build it out in some slightly different ways. But the core of the deck essentially is ramp up, do Druid stuff, ramping up, get some pretty strong turns in there with things like Fangel Staghelm, and then at some point, dump Malygos on the board and then shoot him in the face with Moonfires and Living Roots, right? So... that's kind of the gist of the deck, and it plays out pretty similarly every single time. You end up drawing a lot because you have Azure Drakes, you have Nourish, and this version has the Gadgets and Auctioneer. But I kind of found that I didn't need Emperor Thaurissan because I have like Innervate, right? And not only that, but Malygos comes out on 9 and Moonfires are 0. If Malygos comes out on 10, Living Roots is 1 and Moonfires are 0. So I don't actually have to get a tick of Thaurissan to still burst you for like 20 damage or whatever it is, right? So I ended up pulling that out because I was like, it's a tempo loss when I play it. Oh, and I put back in Ancient of War because nobody plays around it anymore. Like nobody sees it coming, right?
Oh, geez, you just said it and I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it shuts down aggro decks a lot of times where that's what I just need. I need time. I need to get to my Malygos, right? So I put that back in. I've been having a lot of success with that. And also
that was my big problem actually. Playing Malygos Druid was usually just getting overrun by either Zoo or Shaman.
Yeah. The problem is that your removal is Wrath and Swipe, right?
Yeah.
And your hero power.
Feral
and your
Rage.
minions. Like you need to play minions. But
You have Feral Rages in there too.
yeah, I actually took Feral Rage out as well because I found I was like, just wasn't doing enough. I think I have one still in there. Yeah, I have one still in there. But yeah, it's just sometimes you just don't have the ability to deal with all of the stuff that they put out, which was one of the reasons I also put back in the Blood Mage Thalnos too, because I was like, Swipe is great, but I need spell power when I do
that spell
right?
power. There's so many 2 health minions now, whether it's Zoo or whether it's
But with Shaman, you need to clear their
Shaman,
totems now. So
Yeah.
because their totems are now they're all playing. What's the dude? The Thunderbluff Valiant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the totems are incredibly dangerous, and you really need to clear those out. So Yeah, it's like I just the other thing too is I really think that the Violet Teacher makes this deck so much better. Because there's so many times where, like the one problem I had when I started playing the deck, and I'm sure a lot of people out there probably would echo this. I think we saw it in the Taco tournament, is that people were just holding on to Moonfire like I have to play it with Malygos. That's what I have to do, right? I have to use Living Roots with Malygos. I can't just use it as removal. And what I found was it's actually much better to just incentivize using the spells, right? And Violet Teacher incentivizes that. Like you can play it, and then yeah, sure, I don't have all of my cheap spells when Malygos comes out, but I've controlled the board to a certain point. I don't need all of them, right? I can just kill you with one or two of them, which I found, really, really helpful. When I kind of flipped that mindset of instead of trying to get full value out of every single card, just play to the board and play to what's going on in the game, and just trust that when I get there, I will have enough damage. And I found that makes me win a lot more games than I was before. It's a very tricky deck to pilot, though. So if you're looking for something fun, something very like interactive and thought-provoking, Malygos Druid is good. And then sometimes, you just slam Yogg and see what happens.
Yeah.
But
Still got the big red Yogg button.
But I'm having a blast playing it on stream. I think it's probably going to be the deck I'll play the rest of the season. And you can tinker with it too, which I really like. Like I took out Moonglade Portal. Like I said, I've made so many changes to this, but this was the list I was starting with.
Yeah.
I just realized the rest of the season is actually 3 more days. Like, where did September go?
I know. Like I barely got. I'm at like rank 7, and I was like, it took me forever to get this high. Like normally, I would be 5 by now, and like deciding whether or not I want to keep playing or not. But yeah, for whatever reason, it's like it's just blown by.
Yeah, guys. Soon we'll be helping each other stand up in the Hilton bar at
God.
BlizzCon.
Oh,
We'll
man.
be here before you know
That's
it.
crazy.
Yeah. It's gonna look like the bunch of patrons have just spawned in that hotel floor. It's gonna be ridiculous.
BlizzCon still feels so far away to me, and it is not at all.
I haven't even booked my flight yet because I'm just like, oh, that's way far away. It doesn't. Yeah, I don't need to worry about that.
I am this
Whoops.
just you know how last year I was losing my mind right before BlizzCon because of the wedding was right before BlizzCon.
Sure.
Well, this year right after BlizzCon, literally 2 days after BlizzCon, we're closing on our house. So I apparently learned nothing from last year and have decided to schedule yet another giant life-changing event right around the biggest event that I go to every year. So go me. Learn nothing, me. Learn nothing. Yeah, BlizzCon is approaching at a freight train-like speed, and I'm very curious to see what's going to be announced Hearthstone-wise. Not to take us away from talking about the decks that are up on the screen right now, but oh boy, I guess we could have tied that back into the article we just discussed. But you think we're just going to get an expansion announced? Is that the only thing? Or do you think it's going to be some big surprise?
I want like 3 different things.
We're gonna get an expansion. That's it.
Lots of things. Please.
Oh, Jocelyn, no! Jocelyn's spirit is broken.
Blizzard broke me.
Oh no!
Way to go, Blizzard.
No. No,
Yeah, no, we're gonna get an expansion. That's it.
That's it. Okay. All right. So be ready for the first post BlizzCon show. I am expecting Jocelyn to be just sitting there, arms crossed, with the biggest pouty face ever.
I
Then
told
Broad
you
and
so.
Yongwu come in and you just start berating them. They come in with like safari hats. They're all excited. You're like, you guys are in big trouble, mister.
How dare you crash our show and make it extremely special and make everyone happy?
Durarg.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about Midrange Shaman real fast. Well, actually, we didn't even talk about the Karazhan cards that are in Malygos Druid. Arcane Giants have found a home in a Druid deck.
Which, like, the Arcade Giants fit really well. They're just like another threat, that just must be dealt with. Which a lot, because if you look at the deck, there's not that many minions really. Like, a lot of it is just based around these spells. So at some point, you do have to do damage to their face, right? That's not Malygos driven, but yeah, like a couple of hits, one hit with an Arcane Giant usually gets you over the top. But
yeah,
I again, like, I went down to one of those because I found that more often than not, they were just getting kind of dealt with, right? And so it was taking up a slot I could use for something else. And one has proven to me to be enough. So but that and then Moonglade Portal, I think, are the only two that actually made it in here.
Yes. At least the deck list off of Tempo Storm. So, Well, let's look at Midrange Shaman, another archetype that has been around for a while now, especially since the coming of Shaman. Since, I guess, TGT?
But this deck has changed quite a bit over time.
It has.
It
and
fluctuates pretty fast.
Really, the big thing for me with like the new Midrange Shaman, and we also saw this plenty in the Angriest Chicken Open over the weekend, is I'm just left asking myself how I ever thought Spirit Claws was a bad card.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all kind of predicted that it was just going to be inconsistent, but when you just put in a Blood Mage Thalnos and a couple Azure Drakes, it just turns out to be fine.
Yep.
And then also, like, you put a Spirit Claws on, and then sometimes you can just put a Rock Biter on and get the 4 damage you might need to clear something. So, yeah, it
helps.
Turns out to be pretty good.
It helps fill. It's funny because it's like you think about Shaman. Okay, well, Shaman's pretty damn consistent. What's the one way Shaman can kind of fail to launch, and it's having an awkward starting hand, right? And I've noticed that Spirit Claws kind of helps bridge that gap. If you have an awkward starting hand, but you have Spirit Claws, my God, if you get lucky and get a Spell Power Totem, you're fine. It's smooth sailing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can totally
Disgusting
just
to get
wait
Spell
until you
Power
start
Totem.
drawing your good cards.
Yeah. This version is very different than what you had saw like maybe 2 months ago, right, or 1 month ago.
Yeah.
1 month ago, you were seeing it was all about the 4-mana 7/7, right? And now that's gone. Thunderbolt Valiant is back in, and it's actually, Thunderbolt Valiant is a card that it turns an innocuous board into just a powerhouse, right? In a moment's notice, and with less overload than you used to see. I mean, your overload is really what, Feral Spirits and
Totem
Golem. That's pretty much it, right?
I think so. Yeah.
With less overload than you used to see, Thunderblood Valiant just is more playable now, right? There was a time when you just didn't play bigger cards because you could never play them. You were always overloaded and you just couldn't get those types of turns out.
And that's the other thing. Like when I first looked at when I was looking up, all right, Midrange Shaman's big again. It's got some Karazhan cards in. What's the quintessential deck? And I looked up this list on Tempo Storm, and I was looking at it. I was like, oh my God, there's so little overload. I'm gonna not have to worry about getting my Fire Elemental off on 6. Oh wait, there is no Fire Elemental in this deck.
Yep.
It's just it's.
Although
nuts.
you do see it in other versions. I mean, that's the thing. You can kind of go back and forth. Like some of them don't run Alakir. Some of them put the Doom Hammer back in. Some of them have the Fire Elementals. There's a lot of opportunity to kind of tweak and do it the way you prefer.
This
But
particular
the core of the deck is just really powerful around the strong starts of the Tunnel Trogs with the Flame Tongue Totems, the Totem Golems, and the Tuskar Totemics and all that kind of stuff. Once you get that board going, you just have so many tools, right, to push damage.
And like the Malygos, like you said, it's like the Malygos Druid. Like there's just a lot of room here for tweaking and kind of making it yours.
Yep.
We're here in chat room at Anzo saying he doesn't even run Trogs in his just because there's so little overload.
Yeah, but the Trog into Totem Golem is still so damn good.
It's insane when you do get it. It's nuts. But even if you just get a Trog and no overload, it's still a 1/3 on the board. Yeah. Like you are running, like you said, you are running Flame Tongue Totems. It can set up for so much.
And the thing is with Trogs is that even if as the Shaman player, you don't have a lot of overload in your deck, you have the chance to draw into that opening. And also, they're probably going to use some of their removal against that Trog because your opponent is going to be scared of it, thinking that you're going to have the opening or thinking you're going to have a ton of overload. So even if you only have 4 chances to activate it, 2 Trogs and 2 Spirit Wolves, then, that might be a small chance for you to activate your Trog, but there's a very big chance that your opponent is going to waste a removal on a 1/3 that they wouldn't have otherwise, knowing how few overload cards you actually have in your deck.
Yeah, I saw lots of Frostbolts come out against my Tunnel Trog, and I just kind of I don't actually have overload in my hand anyway, so that's not a huge loss for me.
Exactly, and then they don't have that removal available later on when they're going to need it against your totems that you're buffing with the Valiant or on and on and on, because your threats are mostly mid to late game.
Yeah, this deck list overall, the one that's on Tempo Storm right now, if you go look at the meta snapshot, has been doing really well for me. Originally, I was hesitant to put Alakir back in because I haven't really had a reason to run him lately. And then I went up against a Freeze Mage, and I was like, "Oh, I can't swing with my my Doom Hammer." Oh, hey, hi, Alakir. We're good. I can still close this out. It's Shaman's really good, guys. It's kind of ridiculous.
Shaman's really good. Yep.
So
By the way, what version is this? This is not the version that we have linked, right? Because you have a Doomhammer in this one. Linked is the one that I'm looking at. The Tempo Storm one has 2 Thunder Bluffs and no Doomhammer.
oh, you're right. Okay.
But yeah, you can do all sorts of weird stuff with this.
Oh yeah. I guess I don't know. I'm not sure which one I'd like because I'm still running 1 Doomhammer in mine.
Yeah, I mean I like Doomhammer obviously, but I
It
kind of
gets-
decide between Alakir or Doomhammer. I don't
Yeah.
generally do both, right? Because they do kind of the same thing.
Yeah, now that I think about it, honestly, I think this is fine because I have noticed with the Spirit Claws that it gets clogged with the Doomhammer.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. When you have a Doomhammer and both Spirit Claws in hands, that's like the worst draw you can ever actually have, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's one thing.
And even then, you can probably still win. By the way, Maelstrom Portal turns out to be much better than I think we all gave it credit for as well.
A lot of the portals ended up being a lot better
Yeah.
than we thought. Firelands Portal was exactly as good as we thought it would be, but
Sure.
Maelstrom Portal, and we just talked about Druid, Moonglade Portal is really good too.
Yeah.
And I think we thought that Moonglade was going to be pretty good. I think Maelstrom Portal is the one specifically that we were a little bit more down on. And I think that the big difference here is that in the current meta with a lot of Zoo and a lot of other shamans, with these kind of mid-rangey, totemy kind of things and a lot of stuff with 1 or 2 health, as you're a shaman, then you're going to be rolling into your spell damage totem at some point. And that's when I'm seeing Maelstrom Portal being played, is when they have spell damage in play. And then then you're getting an AoE for 2 damage, and the kind of getting a minion of your own is secondary. It doesn't really matter. But the ability to do 2 damage across the board is really powerful for as cheap as it is.
Right.
And no overload, yeah.
And no overload,
Actually, I mean, oftentimes I see a totem and a blood mage or something, and they're doing 3 damage. Like it's
Exactly. And then it's
crazy
what,
how often that
3
actually
mana,
is
2 mana? Yeah.
Yeah, Blood Mage gives this deck a lot of flex because you can drop him just to buff your Spirit Claws. You can drop him to buff your Spirit Claws, and then also to get a Lightning Bolt up to 4 to kill a 4 attack minion, or a 4 health minion, kill a 3 attack, or a 3 health minion with your Spirit Claws. Buff your portal up to 2. There's so many just absurd things that you can do with Thalnos. But then, like you said, you have that added bonus of maybe I will get a spell power totem.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm mad at myself for how much I like this deck because I like Shaman. I've been avoiding it, like I said, because I tend to naturally stay away from the popular decks. Because I'm just like
You are such a Hearthstone hipster because you were talking about how much of a Shaman player you were when they were absolutely terrible, and now that they're good, you're just like, I don't even. Because I can't play the popular things.
Yeah.
I liked Shaman when they were bad.
Well, that's because they were. It's like now they're just kind of like this awesome, perfect curve deck that can be an aggro deck, and I was never a huge aggro player. And while this is not inherently an aggro deck, my God, can it feel like one if you get the right opening?
Yeah, you can turn into an aggro deck real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And constantly like beat this into your head if you haven't played this yet. Constantly ask yourself, do I have lethal? Because more often than not, it looks like you probably don't, but you actually do have lethal, especially if you have a Thunderbluff Valiant in hand. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Thunderbluff is like a mini Bloodlust.
Bloodlust,
yeah.
And it stays. That's the thing. The buff to your totem stays.
It
It's
has
just
to be dealt with.
insane. Yeah.
You have to kill that, but then you also want to kill the totems. But
Exactly.
Then, puts you in a tricky spot.
And dear God, if you still have a Totem Golem on board somehow when a
But you can also,
Valiant
you
comes
put down the Thunderbluff Valiant, and then you put down a 0-cost 5/5 with taunt right next to it. You're like, what, dude?
Yep.
It's just crazy.
There's some really gross synergies in here. And from the IGN interview, it sounds like Team 5 is very aware of this fact. So I'm very anxious to see how this gets shaken up and whether it's going to come sooner in the form of, actual balance updates, or if we're waiting until, the next expansion maybe brings things that counter this, or if we're just going to have to wait until next year when a lot of these cards disappear. So,
We shall see.
yeah, my question is the incredibly open answer that they gave to the question about Yogg. Well, we might send it to Wild, we might leave it alone, or we might change it. All right, let's take some emails and wrap this up.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, did you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
techpodcast@gmail.com is the place to send your emails. Today, David writes in and says, hello, Angry Chickens. After hearing about the new introductory bundle, I wanted to see the new player experience. I switched over to EU and ran through the tutorials. They were fine, but don't really go into much more than how to play the cards. Instead of solo practice, I wanted to go and test my skills on ladder. The first person I queued into had a Golden Medivh portrait and the pre-order Karazhan card back. I realized that he was playing Freeze Mage. My board got frozen, and the only thing I could do was wait for him to Alex Straza and finish me off. The next few games were better, but I noticed I was running into a lot of legendaries. I am sure that they came from the intro bundle. Now I had experience playing around these cards, but how would a new player be able to do that? How are new players going to feel after losing to a Freeze Mage or other legendaries in their first games? Has the intro bundle made the gap between free and paying players that much bigger? Should there be a special intro ladder so that new players don't get crushed and quit?
So this is basically an argument that we've seen pretty much since the start of Hearthstone, just people having legendaries at lower and lower ranks as the game's been out longer and longer. And this has really been exacerbated by the fact that now they have a way to literally buy a legendary as well as a bunch of card packs. So I think it's an interesting question because a lot of the legendaries we've talked about before, how not every legendary is super powerful. There's some that are, crazy and that they might look good, but actually are bad, like Malygos, for instance. So many more legendaries and all the bad effects that actually comes from putting 5 extra legendaries in your deck. So I think it's interesting, but what I liked about this email was talking just about how are new players supposed to know how to play around all of these really, really powerful cards that are suddenly in a place on ladder that they weren't in a year or two ago.
I think they were, and this seems extremely anecdotal to me, and I honestly I don't agree with this at all. Dills, I know you have an EU account, but you played that for a while, so you actually have a pretty decent collection now.
Yeah.
Katie,
I play those accounts up to 20 every season, right? And then they all go back to 25 or whatever, 23 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so then every season I do end up playing a few games at what this part of a ladder that this guy's talking about. And to be honest, I crush everybody in my path with Zoo, with no legendaries in it. And I just have a 100% win rate.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I also kind of disagree with his sentiment. He played a few games and then ran into some good decks, I guess. But
I think running into a meta Freeze Mage is extremely uncommon.
Yeah. At any part of the ladder, honestly.
Yeah.
But
actually that's a good point. It's kind of an outlier no matter where you are.
Sure.
So it's hard not to bring up examples I brought up before. So I'm gonna bring back up because this is also a recurring topic. I'm gonna bring up the example of my wife's account. She literally only plays Hearthstone when we go to Fireside Gathering, so it's 4 to 5 times a year. The only thing she has spent money on is League of Explorers. The only time she has spent money in this game. And she frequently at the start of the Fireside Gathering will sit down with her free to play. And not even free to play and I do my dailies every day kind of thing. No, she's maybe done 10 dailies. She has the most kind of you had an okay arena draft mage deck. That is her go-to deck, and she frequently goes on 8 to 10 game win streaks and hits 20 with no problem whatsoever. At most classes, mage is a great one to go with. It's hilarious. Katie actually just walked in the room. She's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Shaman have Hex. Mage has Polymorph. Rogues, for crying out loud, have Assassinate. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole, there's plenty of ways to deal with big threats. It doesn't matter what the threat is. You don't have to play around them. You can get rid of them. And at low leagues, low levels, in 25 to 20, sometimes that is absolutely enough. Because a lot of times, obviously, it's hard. I can't help but say that the Freeze Mage is an outlier.
Sure, and also, but the other thing too is, his question is really how's a new player, but because we all understand it, right? We understand that you put Polymorph in because it will deal with those. But if you're a new player, you don't really get that, right? And that's definitely a fair point. But I do think there's no way around that really. You can't hold everyone's hand until they're ready to go, right? You just have to, at a certain point, you got to push them out there and say, okay, it's gonna suck, but you'll learn, and that's how games work, right? And so, you explain as much as you can. I wouldn't mind if the tutorial had not necessarily like, cause I think it's the right amount of stuff. It's kind of fun and it teaches you how to aim creatures and all that kind of stuff. It would be awesome if they maybe had like an advanced tutorial that you could opt into doing if you wanted to learn more, right? And things like that. But I really think the best way to learn is go out there and get your head beat in for a while and then like not know what the hell's going on and then like hover over a card and read it and go, oh, that's what that does. Oh, okay. Well, next time that happens, I should probably have a card to deal with it, right? I should probably save that polymorph for when they play a Tyrion because now I know that's a card, right? And that's how you learn in the first place. So it's, I don't know. It's like you can't make that experience perfect, but it's it's a card game. Like that's just
Yeah. All I can think of is Daniel Negreanu from last week when he was going off about RNG. He's like, yeah, there's RNG, and guess what? The best players still consistently plays high because they're better than you. Get good. Like that's basically what he was saying. Like stop complaining about RNG. Get better at this game.
And I think
there is
that
deck recipes
the
now.
issue I think that he's pointing at is that people are going to try the game, be brand new to the game, try the game, get in there, get their face crushed, and not come back. And is that healthy for the game?
Those people. Get out of here. We don't need you.
Yeah.
If
All right.
it's PvP.
You just give up, then yeah, dude, get out of here. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you want me to like care and be really sad about people who like lose a few times and then never come back? Like, no, I don't know. Whatever.
I
Just be
don't.
real here. Like, it may sound incredibly
Harsh.
sensitive.
Yeah, it's hard for me not to be like, do you expect to start piano and not be terrible? No, you're going to suck. Or you're going to pick up a guitar. You're going to suck. You're going to go play paintball for the first time, and you're going to get shot in the butt, and it's going to hurt. But if you quit everything because you're not amazing at it the first time you try it, you're not going to pick up any hobbies or become good at anything in life.
Yeah. Like, when you decide you want to become a skateboarder and you fall real hard, you find out who really wants to be a skateboarder. Like, really fast.
I'm glad you brought that up because I stayed the hell away from skateboarding because I was like drawing and playing guitar. And I was like, you know what?
I started playing bass at the exact same time I started skating. I fell and freaking broke my wrist and was like, I'm not skating anymore. I want to play guitar too bad.
Yeah, you make you make a call on what you like more. Do you like
important,
skating more than playing bass? You'll probably stick with skating, and then you'll play bass when you don't have broken limbs.
Exactly.
But
and if Hearthstone is important to you, you'll push through that period.
but
But if it's not,
But
you won't.
I think that that's the key is that you have to get the player to the point where Hearthstone is important to them. And if it's going to, just beat the fun out of them in the first few games, then they're going to give it up. And I think that there's a bit of a problem there because you could be losing out on some really good players and good community members by having such a negative experience right at the very start of the game. Because I mean, when we first started playing the game, ranks 20 to 25 were people without a lot of cards playing around and learning together, and now that's, I guess, the learning together ranks have been compressed to the point where they're barely even ranked 25 is where the fun and the learning and the experimenting is happening.
yeah,
So I think that's the point of the email is that we're potentially losing out on some players and community members because they can't play to the point where the game matters because it's such a negative experience right off the bat.
Well, but they shouldn't be jumping right into the ladder. They should be doing the
AI games.
AI, and they should be doing like all that stuff first.
I can't remember because it's been so long since I've played on a new account, but once you're finished the tutorial, where does it spit you out and direct you? Does it
directs
send
you to playing
to
AI.
Solo? Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't send you out into the ladder now.
yeah.
Okay. So
It
But
explains.
see, I don't know. I guess I just disagree. I don't think those people would be positive community members. I think they'd be whiners and complainers, and and then but now they're gone, so I don't have to hear them complain. It's great. It's a win-win.
To be slightly more constructive,
They go play Hello Kitty online, and I play Hearthstone, and it's all good.
to err more on the constructive side, as much as I agree with you, Dills, I kind of just be like, stop whining, get good.
I am a proponent for like a legit casual mode. I am a proponent for like I would do want a place where people are not incentivized to try hard, and they go in there and all they do is just mess around and have fun and play whatever weird thing they have.
There's
whatever
no
weird thing they've concocted, and I do want that to exist. But
there's still no guarantee that would be what you want it to be, because if that is what it becomes, there will be the people that just want to watch the world burn, and they're going to go in there with Secret Paladin and ruin everyone's day.
sure.
Because people suck. When you get a critical mass of human beings, there are going to be mean people in there. To be on the constructed side of things, there is more that could be done to improve the new player experience, and I think Team 5 has already done improvements to improve the new player experience. I mean, we have deck recipes now. They could go further. They could actually implement. I would like to see something with the deck recipes where it will actually kind of guide you to a recipe you have the cards for, rather than having to click class, new deck, and see how many cards you're missing. It'd be kind of cool. It's like, well, hey, you have these cards. Would you like to try these recipes that you have 75% of the cards for? That'd be kind of neat. But I think they've already done a good amount of things to Hearthstone to help new players.
Yeah. I don't really know like what would be the real answer here too. Like what would be the answer? Like to have some sort of ladder that for just people who don't have a lot of cards. Like then it's.
I don't necessarily. Yeah, no, because I think we've touched on it before, just with the zoo conversation. I don't think you have to have a lot of cards to be able to have a competitive deck. But I think that and we've talked about it to death on this show before, that the ladder system is lacking, and it would be nice if there was some matchmaking on the other end of it. That's just like if you're coming from a previous rank in a previous season, you don't get matched up against new players or something like that, where like there's some sort of skill or experience measure built into the ladder, which I know weird. Again is a pipe dream. I feel like everything that comes out of my mouth is a pipe dream now, but
no, but if you don't play for a few months, you end up at rank 25, right? And
exactly,
and you queue in, and you're like, well, I played a lot of Hearthstone, but here I am at rank 25.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's true that maybe you should have like a place that you can't fall below, and think about like something like Heroes of the Storm, right? Like if I don't play for a while, like I still have an MMR. I still have like this number attached to me, and if I go play my placement games, I'll end up where I'm supposed to be, right? And Hearthstone doesn't really have anything that kind of gives you that experience, but it's also trying to make a ladder system for a card game which doesn't necessarily historically have this type of system at all. Like you can't play on the Magic ladder, right? You just I go play a tournament or I play with my buddy on my kitchen table. Like that's kind of those are the options there. So they're trying, but it's not ever going to be perfect.
No. And at the end of the day, every time I hear this kind of, because this dips into the legendaries equal good, and that I just think that's objectively wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I say, I don't necessarily think that this email is specifically about legendaries or legendary quality or anything. It's more about just the experience for the
what is
for
this
the
like
player.
For new players? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I made those other accounts. I wanted to kind of see what that experience was like again. But to be honest, it's gonna be rough, dude. Like anything you want to get good at, it's gonna be rough early on.
Yeah, and Hearthstone isn't.
And I think that's a different conversation than your experience in the first few games. I think that Hearthstone should be a good experience for the first, for a reasonable amount of time to draw people in and have them have the experience of, oh, this is a good game, this is fun, I like this, to then push to be better and.
Well, it does. You do a tutorial and then you fight AI. It's not like you log in and you're in rank 25 with a starter deck. Mm-hmm. If that's
actually,
what it
the
was,
AI literally doesn't let you lose. So, you by the end of the tutorial, you feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was.
Did you not lose the tutorial? I didn't realize that.
No, you can't. I've tried.
I don't think you could lose the first thing in the tutorial. There were definitely encounters in the tutorial you could lose. I'm pretty sure I lost in the beta or something.
I tried. I couldn't lose.
Oh, okay, maybe I'm
I think there was things where if I didn't do it, if I just tried to pass, it was like, hey, you have mana, do something.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess I just think it's good. I like the new player experience. It definitely worked on me, and I'm specifically thinking about the tutorial and then versus the AI. Anytime you have a PvP system, it's going to be rough.
Yeah,
I think it is just the degree of how rough it is. And
when I play Overwatch, it's rough, dude.
Yeah,
I suck. And I got rusty, and then I tried to come back, and I was playing last night, and I was like, man, I am just so bad now.
Yeah, it's a zero sum game. There's no RNG in Overwatch. I mean, it feels like it when I died to Hanzo, but but chances are, had I just not walked around that corner, I would have been fine.
Sure.
Same thing goes for things like World of Warcraft. It's not like I get in and it's like, shame, I accidentally rolled the bad class and this boar killed me. No, you have a lot of player agency in that, and it's a zero-sum game. And good God, all the luck be with you if you start on a PvP server. But Hearthstone, at least, you can draw better than your opponent. You could roll better on RNG cards than your opponent. I think Hearthstone is one of the best, the most forgiving starter experiences of any PvP game that I've played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like the thing is, if you want to get good at it, you'll push through. If you don't want to get good at it, you'll go off to something else.
Yeah. But like many games, I mean, I got into WoW because a friend showed me. I got into Magic.
Yeah, if you want to get good and you're sucking, talk to somebody. Try to find some help.
Yeah, I think
Watch Trump teach you how to do it.
I think there's a social aspect to it. Whether you go out, because I know we talk a lot on the show about how a lot of the things that bug us, like a lack of tournament mode, is the fact that it is forcing us outside of the game to accomplish something that we would like to do. But I think there is a flip side to that. I think there are things that make the game better and make the community better because it forces us out into the community, or it forces us to go be social with a friend. Fireside gatherings are an artifact of that. Trump's rise to popularity in the early days of Hearthstone is because of that. And I don't necessarily see it as a negative thing. I think it's a good thing. I think something is to be gained by sitting down with your friend who has played Hearthstone for 2 years and him showing you the ropes.
Absolutely.
But anyways, this show went so much longer than I expected it to. So continue.
I just realized, oh my God, it's like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, continue sending your emails.
That's why I deleted the last 2 emails.
Yeah, we'll have to save those for another time. Continue sending emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again to our patrons at patreon.com/TAC. Thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Peter Williams. You guys are awesome. Thank you, iTunes reviewers. If you dig the show, if you're listening on iTunes, drop us a 5-star review. Thank you to Nicholas Cameron. Thank you to WTF. I see what you did. I actually didn't get that as I was putting this in. He wrote, or she, 11 out of 10 would cluck. So thank you. Air23 and Jay Moss, who said who apparently just saw what it would look like for the first time and said Joss is prettier than I would expect, Garrett is skinnier than I imagined, and Dills is exactly what I thought he would look like. So
I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah. I'm not sure either.
Thank you.
Thanks. I guess you thought I was fat.
I was going to say, I guess I have an ugly voice.
Garrett has a fat voice. Joss has an ugly voice. And I have
I guess
it comes out of my face.
I guess,
right.
Okay, let's put this in a positive light. Dills, he thought you were attractive, and it turns out you are attractive. He thought I was already in shape, and I turned out to be in better shape than he thought. Joss, he already thought you were prettier, and you're just even prettier than he thought you were.
Wow.
So there you go. We put it in a positive light. I thought that was hilarious. I always love hearing from people who see us for the first time, because I remember when I first started listening to the podcast and I saw Scott Johnson for the first time, mind blown. Just I don't even remember at this point what I thought he'd look like, but it was nothing like he actually looks. So anyways, find more of this show and many other podcasts at amove.tv. Get our swag. We have coffee mugs, pint glasses. As a matter of fact, the pint glass that was given to the victor this weekend, you can get similar pint glasses. Not the same one, because that is one of a kind, but you can get a hand-etched Angry Chicken pint glass over at etched.amove.tv. So go check that out. You can also get our shirt over at shirts.amove.tv. You can follow the show on Twitter at TAC Podcast, and you catch us live every Tuesday night at 4 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Dills, where can folks find you?
Check me out on Twitter at Willie Dills. Check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF. If you want to meet my new puppy, Iggy, that's where you'll meet him. He's hanging out with me every stream now, and he's actually sleeping right next to me right now. He's been very patient during this podcast. I'm kind of blessed. I got myself the chillest little puppy ever. He doesn't go crazy except for like 1 hour a day. He goes absolutely puppy nuts. And the rest of the time, he lets me get my stuff done.
Nice.
That's pretty much it.
Did you name him Iggy just to hopefully bestow upon him the power to live far longer than he has any right to?
No, but I hope he does have that power, because that would be awesome. But no, it was so his sister was adopted by my friends Lance and Brandy, and they named her Joey Ramona.
That's fantastic.
I had already thought of Iggy as a possible name I wanted to do, and then once I heard that, I was like, oh, dude, Iggy's it. So he's Iggy Pup.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. You can also find me right here on AMove TV every Wednesday night doing the Gamers In at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can pretty much find everything that I do at amove.tv, including new Embrace the Spoilers with Garrett. Every Tuesday, we're doing Warcraft.
New episode yesterday. It was fantastic. We shit all over Malfurion. We hate that guy.
Garrett has much more Malfurion hate than I do, but
I disagree.
or more long-standing, I guess.
I don't know. I was defending him in the
the world's going to hell, and he takes a nap, and I don't know. I guess it's true.
But no, Val Shara Malfurion, man.
His poor wife is like just talking about how amazing he is. He's like, yeah, I would just go watch him sleep. Like, really? Really? You want to just move on with your life? Just sleep for 5,000 years? What the hell's wrong
Seems
with you?
kind of like a bum. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. Well, folks, you can find me on the interwebs. I'm on Twitter at GarrettArt. There's 2 R's and 2 T's in Garrett. And everything else is at amove.tv. Check out Embrace the Spoilers. Jocelyn already said it. That's all you need to know. Big thanks again to HelloFresh.com for sponsoring this episode. You can get $35 off your first week of deliveries by using the code TAC. Enter that code at HelloFresh.com. Get some fantastic, fresh, nice, easy-to-cook meals right to your doorstep, and also support the Angry Chicken in the process. So we can't guarantee all of your chicken will be angry, but maybe some of it will be. I don't know. I'd be angry if I was
just
dead.
Rub a lot of extra spice on any of the chicken that you bring.
There you go.
And just make it angry.
There you
right?
go. Should talk to
Angry
Hello.
optional.
We should talk to HelloFresh about getting a tavern-themed meal box put together.
Well, like a Jamaican jerk chicken recipe, but just call it angry chicken.
Yeah.
Mmm.
Boy, spicy chicken. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes! Iggy looked up for that one.
Dogs can look up.
Yeah, I knew he would. Hey, buddy.
Yay, puppy incoming. Puppy.
Hey!
Oh, we can see Iggy. Oh, he's tiny. I mean,
He's a little
Oh,
guy.
he's so snuggly.
considering I know how big he's going to get. Not tiny.
He's going to be about 35 pounds, I think, when he gets fully grown.
Oh,
So he won't ever be, like, super big, but
he is adorable.
Aw, puppy kisses.
yeah, he likes to lick my face. You like to lick my face, don't you? Oh, yeah, you do. And he gets right up in my neck. It's adorable. So last night, I got him, like, chill in his crate for, like, a while without freaking out, and that was pretty good. So we're getting there. We are getting there.
He's so cute.
He's amazing. He's the best. He's the best, aren't you? You have
Simply
no
the
idea what I'm saying,
Oh, damn, guys. We hit 1,000 on the dot on the Patreon
Wow.
during the show.
Nice.
It must have been a good show then.
Must have been.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you. Iggy, say thank you. Iggy, say thank you.
Bark.
Iggy, you never do what I want you to do. Come on, man.
Iggy, why can't you speak the English language?
I'm excited to start training him, teaching him some tricks. He's a healer mix, so he's really smart. But right now he's just a stupid puppy. He doesn't know anything.
Have you
He doesn't know anything yet.
Have you already come up with a weird voice that you talk in that is your dog's voice?
What, his voice is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Okay, yeah, because we totally
I'll
have one of
work on
those
that.
for our Chihuahua, and we probably, at this point, Katie and I probably have more conversations in our Chihuahua's voice than we do in our actual voice.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, have fun.
I'll have
Have
to
fun
think
being a
about
pet owner.
He is so quiet. Like, he'll see other dogs, and it's like you can tell he wants to start barking, but he'll just be like, "Ruh, ruh." And he's like, wants to do it. He wants to unleash the Iggy fury, but I think he's still kind of getting over his rough early life, you know.
Oh, he's a rescue,
Yeah.
so he probably, you know, he's from the hood. He's from the streets.
He is. They found him in like a dumpster and stuff. It was like the whole deal, you know.
Aw.
I know.
Oh, he's a gutter punk.
Yep, that's right.
He's an actual
He's
gutter
more punk
punk.
than me, even.
Yeah. Dude.
All right, guys, I got to take him out. Actually, it's been
Yeah, I
2
gotta
hours,
go.
and so I gotta. Yeah, but good show, and I'll see you guys soon.
See y'all.